Hi, my name is Davy and I'm one of the customer success managers at Leadinfo. Welcome to this webinar. In this webinar, we'll explain all the things that we've done in the past few months. Our developers haven't sat still and launched a lot of new functionalities. During this webinar, I'll explain you all the new features and how you can implement them in your account. So this will help you to automate your sales and marketing activities within Leadinfo. Let me first start by sharing the screen and then we'll get ahead. All right, so what's all new? We've launched a lot of new features, and over here you can find a few of them. I think it's over 20 new different functionalities that we've added to the Leadinfo portal, and this is an overview of the main important ones. During this webinar, I'll highlight a few of them and explain you in more detail how you can set this up in your account. Over here you can find differences like new trigger functionalities, our new functionality of user roles, and the lead gen form 2.0. Let's get started. Before we get started, I wanted to explain you on the complete new infrastructure. This is something that you won't see in the portal, but you will notice immediately. Our developers have migrated our databases to make sure everything loads faster and we can launch new functionalities easily and implement them effectively. Our first main new feature has been user roles. This is an add-on on the account which allows you to restrict access of specific users to specific data and assign roles to them. So an example of this would be if you have a sales team and you implemented Leadinfo for the entire sales team, but you only want to show companies with a certain tag to a specific sales colleague. For this reason, for example, if you work on specific regions, then the colleague who's responsible for the UK market will only be able to see the companies who have the tag UK. I'll show you how this works in our portal. Over here you find the portal. If you navigate to the settings, you can find the user roles. Under account, let me see, subscription, you can add all the add-ons. Over here you can have the option for user management. In case you want to add it, click here to add it to your account. The cost will be dependent based on the account that you have. If you want to know more about it, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to advise you on what are the costs to add this to your subscription. There are three types of different users. We have an admin, a regular, and a view option. In case you're the admin, you have the option to add the specific and assign the rules and tags to any of your colleagues. If you navigate to users and you click on one of the users, you can give them a specific rights. Over here you can find admin, regular. The difference between these two is that as an admin, you have all the options and all the possibilities, but regular users cannot change, for example, billing settings, but they also cannot set up integrations. And the last one for a viewer, you can only view things in the portal. So you cannot add new triggers or add reports or change and modify any of these settings. If you give them a view only, then you can additionally decide if they want to have them have access to a specific domain or a specific tag. For example, only our main domain leadinfo.com and then specifically for the tag components. Well, if you can submit this, now this colleague has the role view and has only access to a specific tag. And in case you want to add this to your subscription, let us know. We're happy to explain you more about it and set it up together. Our next big feature is the lead gen form 2.0. In the last few months, our developers have modified the lead gen form functionality, which allows you to set it up on specific pages and show it to only specific companies. This is a big difference to how it used to be before. And now you have the option to personalize the content on your form based on the company who visits your website or based on the content that they're viewing. An example would be if you have a specific page for example, our integration with Microsoft Teams, then the form on that page could that specifically target the text about Microsoft Teams. If you go to the portal, we have the option of lead gen form, and over here you can set up the lead gen forms which are relevant to you. At the top right, you click on New Lead Gen Form, and you find the overview of all the settings. At the right, you also find an example of how it would look like if it's added to your website. First, you can decide the targeting. So where do you want the pop-up to show up? It could be on all your pages like it used to be before, but you could also say, well, for us, only on the page that contains, for example, Microsoft Teams. In addition, you can add multiple rules saying a query parameter, browser language, device type, anything that is relevant to you. So for example, I can also add the device type should be desktop. Well, if both of these rules apply, then for now, the company visiting my website will see the form. However, you can also add certain conditions saying which company should see it and which company should not. You can add specific conditions saying these are based on our trigger functionality, so they're quite similar, and probably also you will recognize how it works. So you could say, well, only the companies in a specific branch, for example, in the advertising industry, will see this form. But this way I can also make sure that the content of my lead gen form will speak to the type of user, so it will address an advertising agency. Well, next up, with the settings, you can decide how it will be viewed, so if it's open or only showed minimized, and if there should be a delay in the form. Could be that you want to have it on based on scroll percentages or on seconds of waiting. And of course, as used to be before, you can decide if you want to have a callback request or an email request. Well, after you set up all the additional settings, you can decide who within your organization needs to get an email once this form has been filled in by any visitor, so that you can get in touch with them. If you save it, then it will be active. So I can add an email address over here. And enable the action. Now it saves. You can find over here that this is the overview of my lead gen forms. If you have multiple forms, you will see all of them over here. And if you click on submissions, you find an overview of all the companies that added their contact details to get in touch. Next to the lead gen form 2.0, there are a lot of different things that we added as well. One of them is a report functionality. Within reports, you can create your own daily, weekly, or monthly reports only with the companies that are interesting and relevant to you. One example of how this would be relevant if you can prevent sales from being overwhelmed with all different trigger emails that they get from the notification once a trigger has been activated. You can bundle these, and if sales works, for example, based on a region, you can send over companies from a specific region, like the DACH region, for German colleagues, to give them an overview once a day or once a week about all the companies which are relevant for them. So how it looks like, it's the functionality next on the left from the report function. So next to the lead gen form, you find the reports. You can click on new report and get started. So you can find first all the conditions. You can select all the companies, but in case you want to have specific companies being sent to specific colleagues, then you can say add the rules. For example, if you would say region would be DACH, so any German-speaking country is relevant for our German colleagues. So in this case, I want to have all the companies from the DACH region being sent over to our German team. You can add a subject and the content of the email, saying Leadinfo DACH leads. Last but not least, decide when a company should receive this report. Do you want the German team to receive this daily or weekly on a specific day, bi-weekly or monthly? Well, in this case, I want to have it daily to them, and you can add an attachment as well. If you don't add an attachment, then the email itself will contain information of all the companies that meet these rules. If you can add an attachment, then you can decide yourself which Leadinfo data you want to have added in an Excel file attached to the email. So I can click on Excel and specify which columns need to be in the file. There are a lot of columns that we automatically selected for you because for most of the companies, these are the most relevant ones. But feel free to check out yourself which columns are interesting and you want to have been added to the file. So over here, in case you like, you can also add a link to the inbox and then save it. Send a report even though if there's no data available, so your sales colleague will receive an email every day. I can save this and have added this to the account. Now, your sales team, the German team, will get an email every day, have bundled all the DACH leads together and have them attached in an Excel file, which help them to follow up. Well, next to these new and optimized features of Leadinfo, we've also added a lot of new trigger possibilities. Before I go ahead, I'd like to explain to you that in case you have any questions about the features that we just talked about, feel free to ask all your questions in the chat. My colleague is available over there to help you out. And if not answered, in the end, we will have a Q&A to help you out with all the additional questions that you have. So all the new trigger possibilities. There are a lot of different things that we added on which you can now trigger your leads in Leadinfo. These we are highlighted a few ones which are most important, and I'll explain in a bit more detail. So we first improved and added a new trigger email. So in case you want a hot lead to be sent over immediately via email if that company visits your website, you can add a trigger with the action of an email. What we added most importantly is the sessions. So now within that email, as shown over here, you will also be able to see all the pages that this company visited. And this will help your sales team or yourself to easily follow up and base your sales page on the things that your customer is looking for and the pages that they visited. Next on that, we have the trigger on region. I just showed you that based on the reports that you can trigger on specific different regions. Could be either the DACH region, APAC, EMEA, a lot of different ones. So if you have your sales team divided based on specific regions, you can now trigger on these ones as well. Third up, we have the LinkedIn branch. There are a lot of different branches that are used and that we have data from. And we added a new one, which is LinkedIn. So as soon as a company adds themselves or subscribes to LinkedIn, they have to explain in a dropdown in which industry they're active. Well, this industry we can show you in the company profile in Leadinfo. So it looks like this. If you navigate to the inbox and look up Leadinfo, you can find over here all the different branches. First of all, you can see our branches based on the COC data, so SB or SIC codes. And next up, for most of the companies who are active in LinkedIn, we also have the branch based on LinkedIn data. So for example, over here, you can see that this is a law practice company. Well, now you can also trigger on these functionalities. So if you go to the trigger feature, based on company information, you have all the different branches that you can also trigger on. So for example, this one, if you look for law practice, and it should be anything that has to do with law, you could say courts of law, law practice, or law enforcement. So if a company added their branch in LinkedIn as any of these three, it will now fire the trigger. The other options that we have is, of course, the branch national and international names, which used to be there in the past as well. Well, last but not least, the trigger on channels. There are a lot of different ways that companies can get access to your website. They can search organically via, for example, Google or Bing, but they can also do it via Google advertisement or any of your social networks. Well, in case of the way of company visited your website is now possible to see in the page views, but now also an option to trigger on it. I'll show you in the portal how it works. So over here, below triggers based on the company information, so the characteristics of the company, you have all the options based on the way they behaved on the website. And then most important, they have the channels. So you can select, for example, the medium would be Google Ads. And now if a company visits your website via Google Ads, you can explain that they get the tag Google Ads. This is a way you can trigger on different mediums. Of course, we also have other ones like general mediums or referrals if it would be a specific campaign or anything. Well, next to all the different new trigger functionalities, our developers also added a lot of new integrations. These integrations allow you to automate your workflows and have the follow-up being conducted from your CRM or communication system. You can find an overview over here, all the different ones, Microsoft Teams, for example, but also Team Leader, Orbit, and Podio are added lately to our software. In case you're looking for a specific CRM system that you're working with, but it's not yet possible to have a direct integration with, feel free to let us know. Tell us in the chat so we can take a look to see and build it for you so that you can automate your workflow as well. Next to these new integrations on its own, there are also new functionalities added to the integrations, so all new options that you can use. One of them is field mapping. With field mapping, you can decide which data from Leadinfo is sent over to your CRM system once you connect a company. So how it looks like is if you go to your integration, you go to your settings and you look up, for example, HubSpot, which is the one we are working with, you find the button for field mapping. Over here, you have all the data points that are from Leadinfo, and you can see where in your CRM system to which properties they're assigned once a company is moved. You can add new mappings for information that is relevant to you by clicking at the top. And for example, you could say the city is relevant to me, and then you can find the correct field from from your CRM system to add the city to. There are a few data points that I like to explain in more detail because they're quite relevant. One is, for example, you can also send over the Leadinfo tags that are assigned to a company within Leadinfo and make them visible within your CRM. So that is the way if you do tags and then send them over to, for example, the field tags. In case you do not have this field yet in your CRM system, just make a new custom property and we're able to retrieve it. Next to that, you can also add Leadinfo as a lead source. So this is this one. If you would add a custom text saying Leadinfo and place this in the field of your lead source, then within your CRM system, all your colleagues will know if a lead comes from Leadinfo and if it visited your website. This helps you to automate the workflow by creating flows or sequences so that based on the lead source, you can conduct specific actions. Next to field mapping, we have the trigger on deal stage. Via this way, we can see for a company who is in your CRM system, what is the deal stage of this company. Well, since this is known, you can also trigger on it. To do so, you go back to your triggers, to your trigger overview, create a new trigger based on the deal stage. This is the very last region that we have. Over here, you can find the rule, HubSpot saying pipeline or stage. So as soon as you connect it with your CRM system, you will see this rule as well. These are all the different different deal stages or pipelines that you have within your CRM system. And based on that, you can say, so for example, if a customer is an active customer, then in that case, I want them to have the tag active customer. Well, by doing so, you can implement this for every different deal stage that you have, and then our software is able to automatically update itself. To do that, you need to add another part of this trigger, and it is to remove all the different other stages that you have labels for. So for example, it's not a trial user, and it's also not a closed customer. In this case, if, for example, a trial user is known in our HubSpot system, it visits our website, then we have the similar trigger for a trial user, will receive the label. If it comes back to your website after a few days or a while, and it's not a trial user anymore, but it's a customer, then it will remove the tag trial user and it will add the tag customer. So this way it updates itself and it's immediately visible within Leadinfo from what deal stage the company is from. And the last one specifically for HubSpot is that we added HubSpot Contacts. HubSpot Contacts allows you to view within Leadinfo which contact within HubSpot is actually visiting your website. You can find this in the inbox, and in case the contact is known, you will see that the company also has this logo from the contact person of HubSpot in it. If you navigate to the page views, you will find which one it actually is. Well, this takes a while to load, so let's just go to the next one. For example, this one. So over here, you will see that from the company Reyes, they're visiting our website. And if contacts from that company are within your HubSpot account, then we can see if one of these contacts actually made the visit. And in this case, this was Lily. So this will help you to get by and get in touch with the actual visitor that went on your website and gives you additional information besides only the company details that we have. In case you want to add this, it's by default deactivated in your account. But if you go to the settings of your HubSpot integration, you can say show HubSpot contacts in user sessions, and you can put this on yes. One side note, which is important for this, is if you want to use it, you have to put Leadinfo behind your cookie banner. Well, these are all the features that were added in the last few months. We highlighted the most important ones, and I hope this gives you some first-hand information on how to implement this into your account. Besides that, we're not going to sit still and it's going to stop over here. Of course, our developers are already busy with the future and integrating new features in the portal. You can find a roadmap over here with all the different new things that are coming up. First of all, we're going to create a smart inbox. The smart inbox will allow you to create segments and views based on triggers, just like a trigger functionality. So based on rules that are important to you and your website visitors. And based on that, you can create these segments and, for example, export them or assign them to the right colleague. Next to that, we're going to work on Leadinfo Contacts. And Leadinfo Contacts will bundle all the contact information that we have. So it could be LinkedIn contacts, Xing contacts, email addresses, phone numbers, anything that's publicly available and known from the employees working at the company visiting your website will be bundled together and will help to easily get in touch with them. The third one is Leadinfo Discovery. And Leadinfo Discovery is going to be our new feature that gives you companies related to the customer profile that you are looking for and which is visiting your website. And the feature I just explained to you, the HubSpot contacts, we will, of course, roll out to any other integration that's also possible to have this set up for. So once that is active, we'll let you know via our pop-ups in the portal, but also within our newsletter. We'll communicate that these new features are there for you to use. Thank you all for watching this webinar. Let me know if there are any questions coming up so I can help them explain them immediately. So far, I think there haven't been any questions. Well, I hope that it was all clear and that you now have the tools to get started within your account and implement all of our new tools. Thank you for watching and have a great day.